Have you figured out your niche? Are you helping adding value to other people's lives? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Munira's Musings with your host, co-author of Conversations with Top Real Estate Investors Volume 3, Munira Zahabi.
Greetings from Chicago, and this is Munira calling for Munira's Musings. My guest here is John Pyron from Sacramento. Hi, John. How are you?
Hey, what's happening?
Something's happening. You're on my show.
That's it.
So folks, if you are having, yes.
We've had to reschedule a couple times.
I know. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So for the folks that are listening, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. And for those of you who are having issues with business, you have a business, but you're not generating enough revenue, you don't know your ideal clients, all of those things, we are now in the presence of the business doctor. He's going to tell you a little bit about his items. But before you go there, if you are tuning in for the first time, you want to know who Munira is and what's that sign that says the niche navigator. Well, I am Munira and I am from Chicago. Used to live in California, so that's something that we have in common. But Munira's Musings is a show that came from the heart because I found several people who are adding value to other people, but they didn't see the value that they were adding. So I told them that I would interview them. And that's where Munira's Musings came about. I am the niche navigator, and I help people, coaches, people in transition, people who are just tired of their own job and want to do something different, find their niche. So that's what I am. But without further ado, here's John. Thank you so much, John. John is the founder of johnpyron.com, and he is the business doctor. So, John, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born at a very early age, just like all of us. And but in my case, it was in a little small town called Dallas, Texas. One of 4 children. My dad is one of 9. And so my dad parted ways when I was 10 months old. So I grew up in a pretty dysfunctional home. Mom went off and found a guy to marry so she can get custody of my sister. But pretty much my entire life, I mean, they really were not parents. They were more of adult children raising children. And so by the time I was 13 or 14, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to just, run on my own. And fast forward April 17th, 1987, I decided to move out, quit high school. I was heavy into drugs and basically was homeless in the streets of East Oakland. 40th Avenue and East 14th Street, really dangerous area of East Oakland. And then fast forward many years down the road, September 24th, 2010, I'm in the center page of the Sacramento Business Journal during the largest economic collapse since the Great Recession, because I had built a business and taken it and grown it 63.9% in 2007, 8, and 9 while the economy was collapsing. And they wanted to know how the heck I was able to do that. And I told him, I said, hey, I was homeless, grew up in a very poor home, dropped out of high school, went and got my GED, but it was the mentors that I've had over the years and submitting my ego and working my butt off that is the reason that I am where I'm at today. And the only reason I've been able to grow this business so dramatically during a down economy is because of the team that I have built. And as a business owner, one of the biggest challenges business owners have is getting out of the damn way and really relying on their employees and empowering those employees. And so, and this is prevalent with small business owners that have never built a business to $1 million or more. And I built 3 of them from scratch. So largest one was 8.5 million. I had 45 employees. And, it's one of the things I learned early on is, I don't want to do jack shit, man. I want to do only 1 to 3 things in my business, and I want all the employees to do all the other stuff. And my job is to really become the chief encouragement officer, not the chief executive officer. And only when I can get my business to that point where I can really duplicate, do I have the time, money, freedom, and all that stuff. So today, back actually in 2012, I thought I wanted to train salespeople because I trained a lot of salespeople, and spent about 2.5 years with a guy named Eric training about 4,500 salespeople around 12 countries, and decided I didn't want to do that. And a friend of mine says, you should coach business owners. I'm like, nah, it's a lot of work building a business, man. He's like, well, you've built a lot of them, I'm like, it's still a lot of work, dude. I don't want to do that. He goes, no, you just tell them what to do. I'm like, I could do that. I can tell them what to do, and so I built that into a 6-figure business and could not take it beyond a certain level. And I'm coming to a point in this story. I got it to the point where I ran out of knowledge in the current model that I have. And, I'm like, you know what? I need to eat my own dog food. And so I went out and found a 7-figure coach who had built a 7-figure coaching and consulting business. And I hired him for 7 months. And I said, teach me how to get to that level, because I can build it to 6 figures. I've helped well over 150 people build a coaching and consulting business to 6 figures, but getting beyond 500 grand, getting to $1 million is a whole different skill set, a whole different model. And Steve Napolitan taught me that model. And so, paid a lot of money to coach with him. It was worth every penny, but he, the point is this, is whatever it is you're trying to get accomplished in your business, at some point, you're going to run out of knowledge. And you've ran out of knowledge when the next month is the same as last month, or the next month is the same as last year, and you're just not growing, Mm-hmm. So something most business owners don't understand is until you have 2 years in business, a bank won't even look at you. Until you're at $10 million or more, everything is dependent on your personal credit. When you get to 10 million, the banks don't give a rip about you anymore. It's all about your business. Okay. And you can really scale at that point. But when you're when you're between that danger zone between 500,000 and $1 million, one lawsuit can wipe you out, And so that's why you need to get to these different stages a lot quicker. And I've built 7 businesses now, and every single freaking one of them, I've gotten there very quick because I submitted my ego to a mentor and to a coach. And so it's made all the difference in the world. Now, my model is way, way different than a lot of business coaches out there. I do not actually have the patience to sit there and ask you as a business owner a ton of questions and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to slowly take you down this process so you can grow as a business owner, so we can stay together for 5, 6, 7 months before you actually have a damn result. I don't have that patience. So I will literally take somebody and go, we're going to spend 2 hours together, and I'm going to get really clear on where you actually want to go. And then just like a doctor would, I'm going to give your butt a prescription on how to get there. And I'm going to actually hold you accountable, and we're going to take action now, not a month from now, not 3 months from now. We're going to actually get to your goal quick so we can move on to bigger and better things. And that's where people started calling me the business doctor. It wasn't my idea. I wish it was, because it's a great idea. But it, that's what I do. I literally get to wake up every morning and do what I'm doing right here. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy sharing great value and great golden nuggets to help business owners grow. That's what I want to do in life. That's what I was gifted to do.
So let me ask you this. You were homeless, you were on the streets, and then all of a sudden you built. How much time elapsed, and what is it that you learned at that point that snapped? It has to stick together.
It's a great question. Nobody's ever asked me that question. So you're the first person to get this actual content out there and recorded. So no, when I moved to East Oakland in 1982, I was 12 years old, and my stepdad was a tow truck driver, and mom was a waitress. And my stepdad said, "Hey, you know what? You're 12 years old, and it's time that you start working and making some money. You need to understand the value of making money." And so he went to a guy named Gary Ballard, who owned Dixon's Auto Supply in East Oakland on 38th Avenue and East 14th Street, and talked to Gary and said, "Hey, you know what? Do you have some work around here, maybe sweeping up the parking lot, cleaning, dusting the shelves, that sort of thing that, you can have my kid do over the summer and, pay him what you think it's worth?" And Gary said, "Yeah." And so I started working when I was 12 and, sweeping the parking lot, washing cars, and on and on. And as Gary and I got to know one another, well, come to find out, Gary had a very similar background to me. He grew up in a very poor home. His mom, was on welfare, and I can relate. My mom was on welfare, and he knew my stepdad. He knew my mom. He knew the environment I was growing up in, and literally that was like my first mentor in life. He started telling me, "Hey, it doesn't matter the home you're growing up in. It doesn't matter. The life that your parents have chosen does not have to be your life, John." And as the first guy on the planet to actually tell me that, "Hey, you can actually go a different route." And I'm like, I didn't know that. I thought, hey, I'm just going to I'm going to be a tow truck driver when I grow up. I'm going to, work in the trades. I'm going to work at a plywood store. Those are the jobs that I watch my dad do. And
so now you had a purpose to navigate elsewhere.
Yeah. He started telling me, "Hey, you know what? You can do anything in life you want as long as you're willing to work your butt off. You can be a business owner. You should own your own business." He fed this to me from 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. I worked for this guy until I went into drug rehab on July 21st, 1987. Me and his son became really good friends and drug buddies, and we do all kinds of drugs together. Gary didn't know any of this, but I started working in all aspects of his business. And when he found out that I was homeless, that my parents had split and moved away, it was just by chance I forgot my jacket in the truck one time when Tim was his son, dropped me off. And he came back to give me my jacket and found I was living in a trailer behind this house on 40th Avenue and East 14th Street. He goes, "Is this where you live?" And I'm like, "Yeah." "Where's your parents, man?" I'm like, they left about a month ago, man." He says, "You've been living here all, I'm like, "Yeah." And he told his dad, and his dad said, "Oh, hell no. No. You're coming to live with us in San Ramon. I'm going to get you a car. You're going back to high school. This is bullshit." Him and his wife were really mad, and but what got me was he had planted these seeds of business ownership, of entrepreneur from the time I was 12 years old. And so when he gave me the opportunity to get cleaned up and he paid for the whole thing, I jumped at it. I did not want to go down that road of not having a life, and so cleaned up, moved in with my grandmother, went back, got my GED, went and joined the California National Guard, went away for about a year and a half to boot camp and advanced training, served the military for about 8 years. And then literally got into the Amway business October 28th, 1990. I was 20 years old. And my second mentor at that time was a guy named Jay Kuchia, multi-millionaire. Worked with me for 3.5 years. I hated every single aspect of it because I hated sales. And he's just like, "You know what? I can't work with you no more, man. You argue for your limitations way too much, and I'm going to let you keep them." And I dropped out of that business and took it as a failure. and went and worked in a warehouse for about 2.5 years and injured my back. And in 1996, I'm like, you know what? All this stuff that Gary had planted in my brain from the time I was 12 came back to me. And it's like, you know what? You need to own your own business. And the only reason you're not going to succeed in business because you're scared of sales. And you know what? That stops now. And so I had a second opportunity to join the Amway business and be mentored personally by one of the persons I really admired, a guy named Dave Vanny, who was a professional salesperson. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do whatever you tell me to do. And I faced my fear of sales and went on to make a shit ton of money in sales and really master the art of sales, which allowed me to build 4 different IT managed service companies, 3 of them well into the millions of dollars from scratch. The 4th one, I wanted to buy a company that didn't have good systems. So I bought it, systematized the business, sold it 18 months later, and started the business I have now. And, but I tell you what, what led to, you never know. It's what you put in your brain. You know, Gary just planted those seeds into me of entrepreneurship, and I'm unemployable. I cannot work for somebody. I have this terminal illness that just the thought of a job, I'll break out in hives, can't sleep at night, that sort of thing.
You can prescribe medication for that. You know this. You're the doctor.
That's it. I can exactly. So what I really believe God's gifted me with is I've been through so many different experiences, both good and bad. And I've been there and done it in so many different areas of, you know, I was homeless, drugs, alcohol, abusive relationships, all that stuff. And I've made millions of dollars and driven a lot of great cars and houses and all this other great stuff. So I've been on all different spectrums. And so when I take on a business owner, I don't just take on the business, I take on the person, because literally, truth be told, 9.9 times out of 10, the business owner is the problem, you know, and I have to work with them.
Become a Gary to them, right? When you prescribe the medication, you become the Gary to them.
It's a great point.
And so that's awesome. So there's so many people out there, and most of us, I work with a lot of coaches. I'm the niche navigator, so I help a lot of coaches find their niche. And I think most people, even are afraid of sales. I'm one of them also. I mean, I'm getting out of my shell, jumping out of my box. But
sure,
that's always something that's an underlying. What if? And you hate failure. People don't like to fail. So what is one point that you tell people about sales that confidence should just work right there?
So what's interesting is I didn't realize 2012 I started working with a guy named Eric, and I'd already been in sales for 22 years at that time and built multiple businesses, and I didn't really understand how deep the resistance to sales is in us as human beings, and until he pulled that out of me. I'm like, here I am. I'd already built these businesses and I still had a resistance to sales. I really did not want to make phone calls, didn't want to close a deal, didn't want to do the work that's necessary to produce sales. I'm like, how is this even possible? And so an exercise that he gave me is he said, hey, you know what? In the book Think and Grow Rich, in chapter 4, there's a technique Napoleon Hill teaches called autosuggestion. And I've used autosuggestion for many, many years. I just didn't realize that that's where it originated from. And what's funny is you mentor with people over the years. It's not like they created these great ideas, right? It's not like they oh my God, I created the new way of growing. No, they learned it from somebody else, and that person learned it from somebody. There hasn't been an original thought in probably 10,000 years. It's just people learn it and they regurgitate it in their own thing. And so he says, most people have a resistance to sales. And the good news, John, it's not your fault. You think about society. Society, our first interaction with a salesperson is probably a car salesperson or somebody knocking on our front door trying to sell us something. And over time, we lose that natural ability to sell because we're all born with the gift of sales. Just try to tell a 2-year-old no. Just try it. That toddler is going to win that argument, right? Most of the time, unless you're one of those parents that are very disciplined, most of the time that toddler is going to wear you down, and you're going to give in, and you're going to say yes, and they're not going to take no for an answer. Okay.
Sure.
And they'll try any way to convince you that this is what you should do. And so we're really born with that natural ability to convince people to our way of thinking. And that's really what it is. And then over time, we witness, somebody knocking at the front door, trying to sell us something. We, with our parents buying a car or insurance, and we see these people that we see as salespeople. We're like, I don't want to do that. I don't even want to be associated with that. Right. Yeah. And we don't want rejection. And so we program these messages in our subconscious mind to resist sales over the years. And here we are as adults, and we're like, I don't want to do that. I'm not a salesperson. Well, yeah. if you're married, you're a salesperson. Okay.
Yeah.
You convince someone to marry your butt. Okay. If you have a job, right, you convince that employer to hire you. Okay.
True.
So
True.
We all have the ability of convincing. It's just that we know how to reprogram our subconscious mind. And so Eric gave me a new definition of sales. And he said, I want you to write this down on a 3x5 card. And I want you to repeat this out loud to yourself 10 times a day for 30 days. And the saying was, selling equals service, sell from honesty, integrity, and compassion. Selling is about leading. Selling is about moving people to action. So selling equals service, sell from honesty, integrity, and compassion. Selling is about leading. Selling is about moving people to action. And so I literally did the exercise. I wrote it down. I put it on 3x5 cards. I put it on my refrigerator, my bathroom mirror, my sun visor, my planner, my computer monitor, everywhere I spend time. And the rule is every time I ran across it, I would look at it and I would read it out louder to myself. It was an average of about 10 times a day. And I did that for 30 days. And it became easier to pick up the phone and make a phone call. It became easier to close a deal when I'm in a sales situation, because selling is different than closing. It became easier to do the activities to succeed in sales. And as a result, I was able to pass that along to other people. Deborah Scarper is probably my biggest success story in that area. She'd been in business for 22, 23 years at the time. Web design company, graphic design, web design. And 2014, we started working together and discovered that, she had a resistance to sales. And she's like, no way, man. I'm like, yeah, no, I know how you feel. I've been in business for years. Worked with her for 3.5 months. And if you go on my LinkedIn profile, she's got a testimonial up there. I grew her revenue 4 times in that 3.5 months. And now she's got a massive company. She no longer has a resistance to sales. And so it's all about reprogramming that subconscious mind. It's not just sales. It's habits. It's, anything that's holding you back, it's probably controlled by stuff that you have fed your subconscious mind over the years. And the good news is you can reprogram it. So, but that's
hypnosis work.
Huh?
Does hypnosis work?
It's kind of like hypnosis. But it's like if you keep telling yourself, hey, I'm a loser, pretty soon you start believing it. Right. Yeah. But if you tell yourself, hey, I'm a winner, it's amazing, what happens. And, if people out there want to test me on this, just sit down sometime and start talking negative, start complaining, start talking negative, and watch how your attitude changes, watch how you feel physically and your body language. I promise you, you're going to notice that there's a change in your physical and mental structure. But the opposite is true as well. Sit down and start, gratitude. What are the things you're grateful for? Start thinking about positive things, focusing on where you want to go, writing out your goals, and watch your energy level change, and watch your attitude change, and watch your attitude towards other people change. We have complete control over our attitude. It's just a matter of choice.
It's right here, right? Between the two ears. Mindset.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing those points. I have to ask you, you overcame your fear and found your niche. Right? That's an awesome thing. So how important is, for people in business and the people that you work with, how important is finding a niche or having a niche? How is that?
Great question, because it took me, in the business model I have right now, it took me about 1.5 years to really find my niche. And it really wasn't cemented until, I want to say September 2016. So just about a couple of years ago, I was at a TTI boot camp. TTI is a company out of Scottsdale where they provide coaches like myself and you assessments. So behavior, driving forces, emotional quotient, EQ, all that type of stuff. And we were doing some assessment debriefs, and then it dawned on me. It's like, you know what? I've been fighting it for a long time because it's not really popular, but one of the things I'm naturally gifted and talented with is telling people what to do and actually holding them accountable. It's just natural for me. I can say things from stage that would get most people in trouble. I could say things to people to their face that would get them punched in the face, but because of my personality and the way I come across and my background, it's just natural for me, and I do it to help them. I'm not doing it to criticize them. Okay. And everything I do is about helping them, stretching them, challenging them, helping them be better than when they walk away from me. They're better than when they were when we had the interaction. Right. And so when Favor was the instructor's name. And when Favor really helped me zone in on that was my niche as a business coach. It wasn't about, asking a ton of questions and then guiding them down a path and helping them figure it out. That model was never going to work for me. And she goes, this is the reason you're frustrated in your business, is because you're taking too long to get a result for your client. And you're a 98D personality. So a 98 type A personality on a scale of 1 to 100, right? I'm like way up there off the charts. She says, what's going to make you more happier and more fulfilled is helping your clients get a result quicker, right? Helping them achieve their goals faster. Because of all the business experience you have, literally asking a ton of questions and really zoning in on, okay, where is the roadmap? The quickest way to get this car from here to here, and that is a real true gift and niche that you have because of the experience you have. And if you actually embrace that and accept that about yourself, your business is going to explode. And I came back from Arizona, got a ticket on the way back, by the way. So anyways, it's a whole nother story for another time. But really just embrace the fact that, hey, that's what I'm gonna do. And my business literally over the last 2 years is more than tripled because of that right there. And I've got clients now that they're like, I had a couple of clients last month go, go, we're good, right? I'm like, yeah, we're good. Why? Oh, I just don't want to fire him. I'm like, why would I fire you? I love my business and where it's at right now, and I don't want to lose you. I'm like, that's a great compliment. Thanks, man. You know, I didn't realize what to do because some of these business owners are like, I don't want to run this business. I asked my client that. I'm like, you've been in business 38 years, man. You know, actually the company's been in business 38 years. You've owned it for 12. And your actions aren't showing that you're excited about it no more. You know, let me ask you a question. Do you even want to run the thing? And he's like, not really. You know, I go, you want me to just run it? You know, you want me to just come in and I'll tell people what to do and I'll tell your son what to do. And it's a multi-million-dollar company. He's like, can you do that? And I'm like, yeah, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars. He goes, done. He goes, well, what am I going to do? I'm like, I don't know. What do you want to do? And he goes, I want to go hunting. I'm going, bye. See you later. You know? And so I love that type of stuff. You know, I love running businesses. I love running companies. And to get that kind of compliment from a client really, really means a lot. So.
Well, you found your niche. So folks, if you're listening, you want to find your niche, I'm your person. If you want to grow your business, find a doctor, call him and ask him for an appointment so then he can prescribe your solutions for you, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, John. I know I've worked with you and I've always enjoyed you. And, you know, this is so great. So one day maybe I'll ask you to come and do a class for me in one of my groups.
I'll be there.
That's going to be.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll be there. I'll be in San Antonio in January and in Scottsdale and then Nashville next year. And definitely love to come to Chicago and do a workshop. That'd be great. So you put the
that
people
would
in the
be
room.
awesome. Yes.
You can put 50 people in the room. I'll be on the next flight. So you tell me when. So,
then it's a challenge.
There you go.
From your lips to God's ears. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, and the thing is like anybody listening to this recording, you put 50 people in the room, I'll fly there on my own dime and do the workshop and we'll make it happen, man. So
cool. So let me find the people with the niches, then they have a business to grow. All right.
There you go. There you go. So,
thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I am humbled and honored to have you. For those of you who are watching, I can't see exactly who's watching, but those who are watching, thank you so much for tuning in to Munira's Musings. And if you could like, share, and subscribe to this channel, I would really appreciate it. Over and out. Thanks, John.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Munira's Musings with your host, Munira Zahabi. If you enjoyed our show, please share and subscribe to this channel. And for more content, please join our Facebook group called Navigate to Your Niche.